Welcome to another edition of Pope Culture, coming to you from the luxurious studios of Radio Titans in Los Angeles. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Carl Kozlowski. I'm a film critic with the Pasadena Weekly as well as the Angeles News, the LA Archdiocesan newspaper. And with me are...
Tanya Yarbrough, a dog trainer who specializes in anxious and aggressive dogs, and a Catholic en extraordinaire.
And Michael Wally, a fellow film critic with Carl over at Angeles News.
All right, and this week we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. The Oscars, giving our predictions for those, as well as some other hot things, including the release of Death Wish and Red Sparrow, what you should see or not see, and some interesting points behind those films, as well as Joy Behar puts her foot in her mouth talking about Mike Pence and prayer. And then Tanya is going to be talking about a show that some of you might find really interesting called Paranormal State. And me and Michael will be discussing HBO's Crashing about Pete Holmes, a comic with an interesting faith journey. And also Tanya will be talking about Peter Rabbit with a great tip for families to enjoy a good movie this weekend. And also its strange connection that I'm going to be possibly bringing up to Death Wish. So let's kick it off right now with the Oscars this Sunday coming up. It's a pretty eclectic field, I'd say, of movies. What are your thoughts, guys? Michael? Or
I didn't go out. I'm going to have to defer to Michael.
Okay.
I've seen all 9 films. My personal favorite was Get Out. I thought it was that movie was just 1 out of 1, man. Just so original. It really had some messages that are like really incisive for the times that we live in right now. Just really culturally relevant. I would call that maybe the third most likely to win. I think fourth would be Lady Bird. Second, as a major dark horse, I have Shape of Water, and actually, it's such a dark horse. I think it might almost be more appropriate to call Three Billboards the White Horse right now. I do think it's going to win, but I think it's really close between that and Shape of Water.
Gotcha. There's a rumor that I'm not sure how they get rumors about the Oscar voting because that's the ultimate secret ballot.
People
supposedly
have
never
things to figure out to do. I mean, if you don't have betting on the horses, then what's the point?
But they take such good care of the envelopes, right? As you saw last year.
Yeah, nobody messes that up.
Yeah, the rumor is that Get Out could take it without winning any other individual Oscars. That would be really strange, but and I think probably unprecedented. But I'd say Three Billboards is my choice by miles. I mean, I think that's up there as like an all-time classic favorite of mine for sure. And, then I guess the second choice for me would probably be Shape of Water in practical terms, but I do have a special place in my heart for Lady Bird. And for our Catholic listeners here, of course, I'd say that make sure you see Lady Bird. It's an outstanding movie with a really positive view of
writing it down
Catholic
right
schools.
Now.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Lady Bird, Tanya?
I have not seen. I told you. Did you
Shouldn't
think I was
seen any of
lying? I haven't gone out. I haven't. The fact that a movie says Get Out, that wasn't even a hint for me this Oscar season. I have not gone out to see anything except what I will talk about later.
She's our TV and Netflix expert. Don't worry.
Yeah,
yeah.
I got to talk to Greta Gerwig just before Christmas about Lady Bird. Yeah,
jealous.
And she's
smelled
really
that jealousy.
Fascinating woman, yeah.
Wow.
And she made a point about the portrayal of Catholic schools in the film. And even though she's not a practicing Catholic, she did go to a Catholic high school. And she said that she really enjoyed it. And it was a great kind of character building experience in her life. And what she made a point of is she said that the portrayal of the nun with the yardstick or the cantankerous priest, she said that's kind of been played out before, and just like with all the characters in that film, she wanted to make really fully realized, well-rounded characters, and it ends up being a warm portrayal of a priest and a nun in the film. They're full characters, and it really works, and it's great to see. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, the priest does a really beautiful job, and it's a relatively small role, but just really powerful. And Greta actually in New York Magazine, they did a story on her, and she said there that she goes like every other week to mass. So she's still
she's half a Catholic. I got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
come on, let's be real. There's probably lots of our audience in that.
I'm sure there are. I'm just making a joke, man. Come on, lighten up. Let's just relax here.
What do you think of some of the other categories?
I mean, I think Jordan Peele is a really strong candidate for Best Director and for Best
Get Out.
And for Best Original Screenplay.
Oh yeah.
I think he's most likely to win the writing category just because it's it's just such an original story that has so many powerful themes in it that makes you really think, and also just the symbolism in that movie. Like I saw a video online on YouTube where someone pointed out that the main character in Get Out literally has to pick cotton out of the sofa in order to stay alive because he puts it in his ears.
Wow, yeah.
And so it's the symbolism of like in order to survive and not be abused, to have to do that and play ball. I just think small things like that in the film I thought were so smart. And I think he's a strong candidate for directing, but Guillermo del Toro it just seems like he has it locked up for Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Especially with Martin McDonagh not on
so crazy.
which is bogus. Yeah, I mean it happens every year where at least one director gets totally snubbed, and I mean a guy that has 3 different actors being nominated for an award. Yeah, how do you not have that director in the field? It's unbelievable.
Well, I had a hard time with not seeing, because I did see The Greatest Showman. I actually saw it with you.
Yeah.
And the thing is that as a former sound editor, I don't see why that film wasn't even nominated for sound editing or cinematography or directing, because that was so well put together across the board. And yes, it's a musical, but it still
they've had
had
musical nominees
of
before.
course.
Yeah.
And so it just seems to me like there are probably a lot of it's every year that, like you said, I'm just backing what you said up. It's just that every year there seems to be some sort of film that gets snubbed completely and defies odds. And that's one of the reasons, honestly, I stopped. I used to watch the Oscars only to see the dresses because my mom was a seamstress. So we used to watch the dresses, and I'd see the Oscars, but it got so political in terms of the voting for things. I just kind of it just didn't seem like it was. I mean, it's an award show. It's nice to watch, but I don't put my bag of beans in there. You know what I mean? Like especially I was on the team for U571 for the sound editing Oscar back when Mike Myers says, and now for the Oscars that nobody cares about. We're like, hey, wait a minute, I worked on that.
Yeah. By the way, Carl, who are you wearing?
What?
Who are you wearing?
Oh, yeah. Who am I wearing? I'm wearing a T-shirt from Snap Judgment, the NPR show. So I would say, for writing and definitely Jordan Peele, and because that's where they tend to reward the movies that have like a fresh voice that probably won't win something else. And I think that's smack dab where that'll be. And then, you don't get a guy like that to come out of nowhere from a Comedy Central sketch series. I mean, I had no idea this would happen. I mean, I saw Keanu, his previous movie, where he starred with Keegan-Michael Key, and they co-wrote it, and it was god-awful. It was horrible. And so I thought, this is going to be some hokey, thriller, and it was just incredible. So, he's going to get something. And then also... but I don't think directing. I think it is Del Toro because of, even with 3 billboards, I mean, he should have been nominated, but I'd say that Del Toro, as far as like the amount of stuff he had to juggle, effects and romance and thriller and all that stuff, and really beautiful character drama, I'd say that he directed it more, was a better director even than McDonagh, even though I like 3 billboards overall more.
And just the worlds that he built too was so, like the imagery in Shape of Water was really something else. And not only that, but also the way it's a classic love story, but it also has really nice themes about accepting people who are different from you, and also on top of that, there's a caper plot too, and he was juggling a lot of things, like you said, and I really thought he thread the needle really nicely. Yeah,
I gotta say the likely winner for Best Adapted Screenplay is the movie I hated most all year, was Call Me By Your Name, which, I mean, because, so the writer is James Ivory. He's 89 years old, and so, they got to give it to him, because if you're nominated guy is 89, he's going to die, like, any day now, so, we'll throw it to him for the career bone, and, because he bored us for decades with all these costume movies like Howard's End and whatnot. But it's also like you got to give an award to the big gay romance. And I was a big fan of. I liked Moonlight, so I want to make that clear. Our audience may not care that much about whether I liked something like that or not, but for the general public, it's like I want to point that it isn't that I have a problem as much with the gay romance theme as this movie really has got a creepy relationship. It's a 17-year-old kid pursuing a 24-year-old man, and his parents are pretty much pushing him into it. And the guy looks like he's 35, the older man, and they cast it's just bad casting. The boy, it looks like he's 12. And he's really the 24-year-old actor, but it just is ridiculous. They don't look like they have any business being anywhere near each other. The entire movie is just creepy.
And by the way, Timothée Chalamet, he's one of those guys like Domhnall Gleeson and Jesse Plemons, where they have somehow found I don't know if they have a time machine or something, but they've somehow found a way to be in every single movie. Because every time I look up, they're in the cast somewhere. It's
You're right. Yeah, he's in Lady Bird too as the dreamboat boy.
He's in Lady Bird. He's in Hostels. He's all over the place right now.
It's kind of like a collusion thing going on here, don't you think?
Maybe, yeah.
The Russians are behind it.
He has that like Hermione Granger ability from Harry Potter, where you can travel back earlier in the day and when you double book things.
You're like, oh no, let's reset that one. Let's go and exactly.
Yeah.
Let me be in bi-location here.
We should rush through the rest of the four basics, the acting ones. What do we? So we can move on to. We got so many other things. What acting wise? What are you for?
Well, I think what's really interesting, or one of many things that's really interesting this year, is that many of the other categories outside of acting are really up in the air, and we're not sure what's going to happen. But the four acting categories seem to be set in stone, right down in ink, locks. I would be shocked if it's not Frances McDormand for Best Actress, Gary Oldman for Best Actor, Allison Janney for Best Supporting Actress, and Sam Rockwell for Best Supporting Actor. I agree with both actress and supporting actress because Frances McDormand I thought was she's one of my favorite actresses, and I think this was really some of her best stuff.
She's always solid.
Which is saying a lot, because I mean Fargo is so good, Olive Kitteridge was so good, even her smaller parts like in Almost Famous. She really just has a knack for playing women who are kind of having a midlife crisis and feel a little bit out of place in their world. And she does it so well in Three Billboards. And Allison Janney just had me laughing the whole time, but it was such a vicious character too. And it was, I said in my review, actually, it's the best portrayal of a narcissist I've seen since J.K. Simmons in Whiplash a couple of years ago, where you're just like, where you're laughing, but you're gripping the seat, thinking like, oh, I feel like I know this person in real life, and I'm terrified right now.
And Michael's having flashbacks.
No, thankfully my mother's the best. It's nothing like that.
Mom,
don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah,
not at all. For Best Actor, I thought Denzel Washington deserved it for Roman J. Israel, but the movie itself is just not a great movie.
It's
horrible. Which is gonna it's really not a good movie. His performance I thought was amazing. For Best Supporting Actor, I don't mind Sam Rockwell winning. He definitely was great. If it were up to me, I would have given it to Willem Dafoe, though.
That's my choice, yeah.
Yeah, because Florida Project's just such a beautiful movie, really underrated. It got snubbed for Best Picture, I thought. And it's kind of like a pop verite movie, as the director Sean Baker calls it, where he throws in a lot of green actors or even just residents of the town. Yeah. And Willem Dafoe just blended in with all of it so seamlessly. It was almost, you'd think he was almost like the actual motel manager, like someone who actually lived in that Orlando area.
Well, that's a movie that probably was the least seen as far as box office wise,
right,
among all these big nominees that we've mentioned, and because it made about $5-6 million, and it's a movie that there's no way on earth that it would ever be a blockbuster, but really recommend people to check it out. It may seem, don't watch it with little kids. It may seem like a kid movie because little kids are in the poster and everything. It's a sweet movie, but the kids are really foul-mouthed little hellions until you start to fall for them, that you realize that they're the product of the horrible environment that they're in. It's about little kids that are growing up in dire poverty, living on the edge, just one step away from homelessness in low-rent motels outside, just across town from Disney World in Orlando. And it's a really touching view from a child's eye view. Sean Baker, that writer-director, he said that he loved the Little Rascals. He wanted to make a modern-day Little Rascals movie. And so it's these kids getting into trouble in 2018 kind of mode. And